In this video, I'd like to talk about the math question of the day for February 23rd, 2023. And with this question, we need to find the equation of the line parallel to this line here and passing through the point 1, 6. So to understand a question like this, you do need to have a solid understanding of Algebra 1. And at this point, go ahead and pause the video, see if you can work through this on your own, and when you're ready, unpause the video and we can go through this together. Now, assuming that you have attempted this problem, let's start going through the solution together. And if you do have suggestions for future questions of the day, feel free to leave that as a comment down below. Now, when we have two lines and we know they're parallel, we know that parallel lines have the same slope. They have the same steepness. So if we can figure out the slope of this line, then we know the slope of our line. And we can just use either slope-intercept form or point-slope to figure out the equation by plugging in this point right here. So let's start by figuring out the slope of the line, and probably the simplest way to determine that is to put our equation into its slope-intercept form. Or in other words, we need to solve it for y. Since when we do that, the slope of the line, which we call m, is just the coefficient on x. And b, this is our y-intercept. If x is equal to 0 in this equation, then y would just be equal to b. So let's rewrite this equation. We have 6x minus 3y. This is equal to 12. We're solving it for y, so let's add 3y to the other side and subtract 12. I'm essentially doing two steps in one, but you can do those individually. And then divide everything by 3 so that we get 2x minus 4 is equal to y. So this is the equation of the line that's parallel to the one we're trying to find. And if we wrote it in the slope-intercept form like we have here, notice that the coefficient on x is a 2, meaning that the slope we're looking for, the slope of our line, is also 2. So at this point, we can write the equation of our line with what we know. We have y is 2x plus some y-intercept, which is b. And at this point, there are two different ways to figure out b. We could use point slope, which you might remember is just y minus y1 is m times by x minus x1. But if you don't remember this point slope formula, then you can use the slope-intercept form. We can set x equal to 1 and y equal to 6 and just plug them in here and solve for b. But if you do remember point slope, it tends to be a little bit faster. We just plug in for y1 and x1 into this equation and solve it for y. But either way you want to do it is perfectly valid. So let's use this first method. We'll plug it into our slope-intercept form so that we get y, which is 6, is 2 times x, which is 1, plus b, and this is just 2, so we get 6 is 2 plus b, and subtracting 2 on each side, we get that b is 4. So combining everything we know about this, we have that y is 2x plus 4. And we can see it's parallel to this equation because it has the same slope, so it meets that condition. And you can test that it passes through this point by just plugging that in. If we plug in x is 1, we get 2 plus 4, which does give a y value of 6. So there are ways to test this, but ultimately solving a problem like this, we just need to figure out what the slope of this parallel line is and then use either slope-intercept or point slope to actually determine the equation.